On the nod! 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 On the nod!
What's up, everybody? You're watching On the Nod. I'm Brackett. I'm here today with Bad Terms. How are you guys?
Doing good, doing good.
Good, well, thank you.
Good,
Thanks for having us
good.
in.
Of course. Go ahead and introduce yourselves and what you play in the band.
Hans, you go ahead, man.
Okay. Yeah, I guess guitar, some bass, some songwriting. That's about it, I guess, for now. Production.
Yeah, he's selling himself way too short right now. I'm Kurt Florzak. I play guitar, I sing, I play bass. Hans is like the wizard behind the screen with Bad Terms, pretty much like the guy behind the curtain, so to speak. I think I like to refer to him as the Mad Professor.
Oh, cool. Well, I think every band needs one of those, right?
It's helpful. It is helpful at times.
Awesome. Very cool. So I usually ask in the beginning how the band got together.
Yeah, Kurt, you want to talk about this one?
You know what? Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been doing a few of these, so
okay, sure.
I'm gonna hold on. Like I'd love to get your take on some of this stuff, man.
Geez, it's we've known each other for a really long time. We kind of grew up in the same general area, but we're pretty far apart now. The short version, I guess, of this is Kurt gave me a call a couple years back to go on a European tour, to play bass on a European tour with a different group. And I feel like that was maybe the beginning of this sort of project. So I think, getting to hang out with each other and see sort of where we're at. And basically after that was over with, we wanted to keep momentum moving forward, and not everybody else was, I guess, is feeling the same way with other projects and stuff. And me and him were like, let's move forward with things. Let's make a band happen and try it out, and started kind of exchanging files from a distance. And it kind of came together, and we're like, wow, okay, this is cool. So
Yeah.
that's my shortened version of that, I guess.
Very cool. So you guys live in different places, right?
Yes, we do this time. Yeah. I'm in Prescott, Arizona.
Oh, okay.
He's over there in Boston.
I live in Boston, Mass these days. I've been here about 20 years.
Oh, cool. I used to live in Boston very briefly. Yeah, I'm from Connecticut originally. So
so am I.
Oh, really?
I was born in Connecticut. Yeah.
What part?
I was born in Bridgeport, but yeah, I have family.
Bridgeport.
Yeah, I have family in Fairfield and Danbury and up around there. Yeah.
I grew up in Westport. Fairfield
wow.
was right by me.
Crazy.
Bridgeport's right by me too. Yeah. What a
Yep.
small world.
I worked in Westport for a while when I was a teenager. Yeah.
Really? That's crazy. Not too many people know about it.
Yeah, I know Westport and Southport really well. And Norwalk.
And Norwalk. Good old Norwalk. That's cool. Awesome. So how do you guys rehearse and stuff, being
So Bad Terms is pretty unique. I mean, Hans and I started this like he was saying, sending files back and forth, and it was really not so much the intention of it even really being a band, so to speak. It was just like, hey, let's record this stuff and see what we think, and I'd say over the course of maybe 2 or 3 months, we put together about a half a dozen tunes, and I put them up once Hans had done he was happy with them with the production stuff. I put them up on the internet, and within a day or so, we had a couple offers from labels to put some stuff out.
Oh, wow.
Which was not really our intention. I mean, of course, we wanted that, but we certainly weren't expecting it. So It was like, okay, and Christian and Lionheart offered to put something out, and we jumped at the chance. And as soon as I put it up, also I got an offer for a show in Boston, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And then it was like, oh, there's no band. Like, we don't actually have a band. It's and the two of us are in it, and we're 2,000 miles apart from each other. So there was really a mad dash to kind of put a lineup together, which I was lucky enough to do here in Boston with some guys. Um, um, and yeah, I mean that's so Hans has really played with the group. What, it was just the one time, right? I mean,
Yeah. Coming soon though. We got
coming
together.
soon. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming up.
Yeah.
But Hans flew out and we rehearsed for this one show, and I'd been kind of playing with these other guys for a bit. And our first show was with Lions Law and
Youngblood.
not Youngblood.
Yeah.
Those are young
Not young. I'm sorry, not Youngblood.
young ones.
Young ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
Young
nice.
ones.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's really a pretty unconventional kind of arrangement. You know, it's unique in that we've kind of done things backwards. We didn't toil away in the rehearsal room and in the studio for a couple of years and then put something out and hope somebody would help us out. It was like it was there, and then we're like, oh shit, now we have to actually figure out how we can do this in a live setting because offers started coming in. So for now we're rehearsing in Boston, and we're actually getting together next week, and Hans and I are gonna get together with like guitars in hand on the sidewalk and rehearse for the show and then play a couple, excuse me, real quick, play
I
a couple.
rehearse at home, I suppose, and we just try to be prepared. It's not exactly ideal, in that setting, but it is what it is. I think post pandemic, you try to roll with things in a slightly different way, and the energy behind this and is awesome, and it's worth doing. How, even if it's not traditional, it's sort of worth exploring and moving forward with like that.
Definitely. So when the band started, it was just you two, and then you had to add like a more of a lineup when you played live shows.
That's
Exactly.
right. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So we got
There's like a definite lineup now, or does it constantly?
yeah, it's pretty solid. No, we got
okay.
Jason Arthur on guitar, and we have you know what, I screw this up each time. Jason has like 4 different pseudonyms. I'm going Jason Hunt right now. It's Jason Hunt. Mike Reinhalter on drums and Dom DiNardo on bass. Those guys have been a constant. And Mike and Dom will be heading out west next week with myself, and we'll be doing a couple shows out there. So, but there is a definitely, I've had to like figure out how to we do things a little bit different here. We've had like several different incarnations where I have played guitar, not played guitar, and just sang. I'm playing guitar and singing now, so that's okay. It works out all right. But ideally, it's 5 of us, and I don't have a guitar in hand. But we're not always able to do that. So I'm kind of just rolling with whatever makes the most sense, and trying to be as flexible as we can with things, in terms of lineup.
Right, definitely. How long have you guys been doing this? How long have you been around?
It's exactly a year this month that we started trading stuff back and forth. Yeah.
Only a year, and you've already accomplished a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot has happened in the past year. And I mean that's from when like Hans first sent me files, really, like about a year ago, So in fact, it was my wife and mine anniversary last year, and I remember being away. We were on vacation. I had my computer with me, and I was writing lyrics and stuff as I was on vacation. And that just happened again last week, and I was in the same spot on my computer, like writing lyrics. This just happened a year ago, But yeah, lots gone on in a year.
I would say so, for sure. Now, do you guys all do the songwriting? Is that something you collaborate on?
Pretty much me and Kurt at this point in time. The other guys in the band, just maybe starting to contribute a bit, but initially we just keeping it between the two of us, I guess, just to keep some consistency. And that's sort of, I think, where we're at. It's probably going to be that way for the foreseeable future here. We both create a lot.
Yeah. There's a stripped down simplicity to how we're doing it. And it's tough to branch outside of that because, the way we've been doing it, it's just, we're not going into a studio. We're not paying studio time. We're tracking everything ourselves at home.
Oh, wow.
All the material goes to Hans. He does all the in-house production work. So it's, we're saving money by not spending it in a studio, and it's much more streamlined in that we're not having to bounce mixes back and forth from another engineer or somebody. It's quick and it's easy, and it's kind of hard to think of doing it a different way, where because typically you're in a band and you work on stuff for months and months trying to get tunes together, and you go in a studio and there's 27 different takes, and then there's 27 different mixes, and then everybody argues about which mix and take they want. And then a year later, maybe the record comes out, and this is like, why would we do that again? But those guys have a lot to contribute, and I don't want to negate that, and I do want to get them involved, and they are starting to put in stuff. And we're certainly, when those guys are playing, it's not like, no, you must play things this way. I mean, it's like, here's the songs, put your thing on it, do your thing. I'm not into micromanaging. It's like I've got good guys, and I have faith in them and trust in what they're doing and their ability, and I know that they can do the tunes and the music justice, and they are, and I'm grateful for that, for sure.
Wow, that's awesome. Sounds like you guys really work all well together and like a well-oiled machine here.
So far. Wait till we get in a van. We'll see what goes on then.
So what inspires most of your songwriting?
Oh man. I'm gonna take a stab at that, Hans, because I'm writing.
Yeah. Please do.
I mean, it's not like, I'm not gonna say there's like a definite, arcing, thematic arch or arc to the songwriting. It's mostly just life experiences, things I've witnessed, things I've, stories that I've either heard or things that I've gone through. At the end of the day, I want people to have a good time, and I want to write memorable tunes, and I want people to be able to sing along and have things stick in their head. We're not certainly, grandstanding and going to get on stage and like, preach philosophy to anybody one way or another. We all have our sort of strong beliefs and stuff, but like in terms of rock and roll, we want it to be rock and roll tunes, that people can get behind and relate to, on a personal level, so I mean, we're certainly not reinventing the wheel, and I'm not really trying to. I'm just trying to write from the heart and be real,
Yeah, definitely. Have you guys been in bands like throughout your life mostly?
This is my first band.
This is your first band?
No.
I was gonna say. Wow.
I'm fucking around. No.
Yes, for a long time. Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah. Long time. So yeah, one of my first bands was an Oi band called the Boot Boys back when I was about 16. And by the way, I don't know if this was mentioned, but yeah, we're from the kind of the LA area, I think, where we kind of both grew up. It was kind of a suburb of LA. In fact, I saw that you had Martin from Toledo Panic was on your show not too long ago. Yeah, so my band, the Boot Boys, used to play with his bands back in the day, and that was like 86, 87, 88, I guess, in that time. So that was my first band, and then we've pretty much been playing ever since in some sort of incarnation of rock and roll,
Right.
So,
that's awesome.
long time in bands.
For sure.
Very cool. How would you say Bad Terms is different from your previous bands?
I mean, certainly the way we're working on this, I think that's the biggest. They're really the kind of the biggest difference is this sort of doing it sort of backwards.
Right.
In that regard, and technology's gotten good. I mean, this was something that technology's been able to do some of the stuff that I wanted to do for a while. Every single person that I knew or friends with had no clue. And was like, what are you talking about? Like, they only know how to get in a room together and do things the old school way. I'm like, you can send files back and forth and do things, and we can make things happen with a very low budget, I guess just, home recording stuff. And so for whatever reason, just the circle of people around me just were not very good with that. So Kurt sort of stepped up and was able to do that. And so I'm probably losing focus of the question a little bit here, but so I mean, that's really the different, being able to do home recording stuff is really quite different than, like he explained it, getting in a room and working on songs for a long time. And there's something that's wonderful about that too. And going and playing, you know, working at your set for a year, and then you're finally going and recording. And sometimes you get better, you know, things can be cool from that, but this is just different. This is just done differently. And we're, you know, analyzing stuff in a different way, good or bad. So
For me, I feel like, you know, the difference, I've been on a lot of different bands, and the last band that I felt like really this sort of strongly about was my band in the 90s. I was in a band called the B-Movie Rats in Los Angeles. And that was definitely like, I felt like I was a major part of that band. And I'm not saying that I haven't felt that way in other bands, but this is the first time in a while I have felt like I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. Like, this is the first band I'm singing in ever, really. And material wise, I feel like Hans and I are like so tuned in and dialed into what we're trying to do here now. And I mean, we talk about that and that fluctuates, but it's still like, I just feel like it's very focused, like really hyper, almost hyper focused, where it's just like, we are doing this thing, you know, and I'm really excited about it. I've been excited about it for a year, and I'm still, every day I'm even more excited. It's because like, he'll send me a new track and I'm like working on it. It's really cool for something to come together from nothing, and then see it happen, and then listen to it. You're like, and it to not have to make any sort of concessions, or to not make any compromises. And that might sound shitty, but like, I'm at a kind of point in my life where I'm just like not willing to compromise on the artistic stuff that I'm putting out, like particularly like this stuff, like this is what I want to be doing, you know. Right. And I don't want to have to run it by somebody for it to be okay. It's just like, no, this is it, you know, other than Hans. I can run it by Hans.
Well, that's awesome that, you know, it seems like you guys are so in sync with each other, and that's probably why you've been doing so well in such a short amount of time. Definitely.
Maybe.
How would you guys describe your sound? I mean, like, I know it's kind of over rock and, you know.
Yeah, how would you describe it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we, you know, maybe struggle a little bit with this. You know, I guess it goes back to just kind of basic rock and roll stuff. I think that's always what gets me excited. And that's such a basic kind of generic term. There's obviously a lot of oi street punk stuff. There's just basic, you know, just rock and roll stuff. I mean, I feel like we sometimes say one thing and then I go, I don't know if that really sounds exactly like that, you know? So for me, it's fairly open. Not maybe doing a great job explaining this.
Well, it is a struggle when people, it's like the elevator pitch. Well, what do you sound like? It's like, well, shit. Yeah. You know, like, I don't know, you know, even when you're putting something up, you know, on your Bandcamp page, like, we'll describe the band. It's like, well, yeah, you know, like it's a million things, but it's one, you know. I mean, I feel like this thing is pretty specifically part of like a newer sort of oi scene. And, you know, I say bava rock for kind of lack of better words, but I mean, it's like oi and glam rock and classic rock and punk and pub rock and, you know, all those kind of things. And again, I mean, there's tunes that are very different. Even what we've done, what do we have? Like 14 tunes now? Like, there's tunes that are very different from each other just in that gamut, you know? So,
right.
I think because it's also come so quickly and we're like kind of writing so much, I feel we're still trying to figure out that exact sound, or, you know, I mean, there's some thematic stuff that's like, okay, we're kind of in this range, but I still feel like there's open. And I think with time, it'll be like, yeah, this is kind of what we do. Right, and that's my opinion, I guess, of that. You know, I
kind of feel like we're already there, you know. Yeah. I do. No, but yeah. Not to limit it to where you're like, well, this is exactly what it is. But I think if you listen to the tunes, I think there's My opinion, I think it's all cohesive. It's not like, well, this sounds like one band and this sounds like another band.
True, true.
I think it has, I think it definitely has a sound. I don't know, Brackett, it's a really good question. I don't know. I try not to think about it honestly too much. I just hope people dig it. And if they do, awesome. And if they don't, then maybe other people will.
Well, it definitely seems like they do, for sure.
Seems like it. Yeah.
So what are some of your influences?
Oh, good Lord.
You have to give me the whole list.
Yeah, no, I mean, Hans, you go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'll take the first one here. Yeah, I mean, to me, the early 80s, late 70s, sort of a lot of the English, Irish, Scottish stuff, The Oppressed, Last Resort, Foreskin, Sham 69, Menace, all that sort of, stuff was really influential for me when I first got into this sort of music scene. And I was just gravitated towards so many English bands, I guess, and that sound, and to me, it was very much part of oi and street punk. But now it's a completely different thing, in my opinion. It's really kind of unique. And Kurt's turned me on to a lot of these newer groups. That's really opened my eyes. I was probably stuck a little bit more in the past stuff of just like all these great groups, and that was sort of the sound. And I feel like he's turned me on to a lot of the newer stuff that's going on, and it's a really great scene, and it's a lot more wide open. Hearing all these groups, from even French oi stuff to, so yeah, I mean, he's no time and all these Lost Legion, and God, there's a huge list of groups out there doing stuff that's really cool and unique. So it's so different from the early days. But I'm always going to have my foot of like, that is sort of what the genre sort of kind of is. But anyways, that's sort of.
Look, when you get on in years like we are, we've listened to a lot of music. There's some records behind me. I mean,
yeah,
but no, it's true. I mean, like having a foundation in we all kind of have the stuff we grew up with. Hans and I were both in different bands, but pretty heavily involved in like the punk rock and roll scene that was going on in LA in the mid 90s, which was a great scene. And I always thought that it wasn't like a skinhead scene, but it certainly, there was a lot of overlap in my head. I mean, we were playing that stuff, but I was still listening to Cockney Rejects and Sham 69 and Cockspar and the Foreskins and all that stuff. I mean, the first oi record I had was that first oi comp, I think in high school, which I still have a copy of. But I grew up listening to Who and the Jam and all the 77 punk stuff as well, and I think what kind of happened for me was a few years ago, like Hans and I, we were on that tour with the Moshines. That was the name of that band, and that was kind of I would describe that as kind of like a power pop pub rock kind of thing, which again, to me, there's these sort of adjacent lines. It's like it's not that far removed from what we're doing. But I was becoming a bit disillusioned with kind of the rock and roll scene here in Boston, and just feeling like things were a bit stale. And I started going to more like punk and oi and hardcore shows a few years back, and really got energized by it. Like seeing some of these newer bands, and I was just like, wow, like I felt like it was breathing new life into what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So props to the new breed and the younger generations. I'm never going to be one of those people who are like, oh, these kids don't know what's going on. Like the kids do know what's going on.
Yeah.
And they're making a lot of great music. I mean, some of my favorite bands, I can't even keep up with how many good records there are being released right now. So I'm definitely influenced by a lot of the newer bands as well.
Well, that was going to lead into my next question, which was who you're listening to right now, new band wise, like what bands you really like.
Boy, what did I listen to today? I like the new Shape for Battle record. That's a good record. I really dig that. The No Time LP that came out is just colossal. I think it's just they've blown my mind a number of times now. The Lost Legion record's really great. I dig Violent Way. I dig Collapse is a great band. We're going to be doing some shows with them in November. which I'm stoked about. They're like one of my favorite bands right now, you know.
They're so
Um,
good.
there's so many. There's so many, you
Yeah,
know.
there's a lot.
Cran was here. They were great. We played with Prisoner du Temps a few weeks ago. They were amazing. Um, great bands here in Boston like Battery March and Klaxon, you
Oh
know.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
yeah, there's just so much good stuff to listen to, you know.
Definitely, I agree.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean the French scene alone is just exploded, you know. So I mean a lot of people have been saying that, you know, the scene right now is just incredible as far as the music coming out of it and everything. How would you say it's different from the scene from the 90s, for example?
Hmm. I don't know. What do you think, Collins?
Yeah, I'll go back to that. I thought about this a little bit. I mean, getting started in, I guess, doing the 80s stuff and the sort of oi and that scene anyways. And that was the 80s going into the 90s, but that was so much more segmented. I felt like there was so much less bands. I mean, the people who were doing that were really passionate about it. I think we were all sort of just getting started as musicians. So the, quality of the bands, I think, is much higher now. I listen back and it's hard to even listen to some of the stuff we were doing back in those earlier days. It's like, wow, this is pretty rough. And this scene was a little bit more, segmented and a little violent and a little scarier. I think there was that element of people were really, it was, you needed to look like this. You didn't blend in, if you were a skinhead, you were really skinhead in this thing. You didn't hang out with the punk scene, punk people. You didn't
Right.
hang out with this. I mean, maybe this was an LA thing. Maybe this was a, particular scene. There was a lot of that going on. So it's really nice, I think, now to see that things are way less rigid. And I think it's way more music based. And there's that passion for that, which to me is great as a musician. That was always what was, that's always what did things for me, was the musical elements of things, and not necessarily the people fighting or wanting to,
Right.
that other element of things that people kind of forget about. The 90s going into that stuff is a little different. I mean, I think we just followed our passion for sort of rock and roll, and it was really interesting to me. I the punk rock and roll stuff too. They're just, to me, the early that mid 80s stuff, it just sort of fizzled out. There was really nowhere else to play. I think there was so much bad negative press on skinhead stuff too at that time that it was kind of, pushed itself into a corner, so to speak. And so a lot of those people I remember seeing at shows that I used to see at OA shows were kind of in the rock and roll scene, and sort of, so I work with a group called the Humpers. Yeah, they were, so they ended up being on Epideph and stuff, and touring around with them. But it was always very surprising to me to see a large part of that Oi scene people were into that same stuff. I mean, it makes sense. It's not that different. It's passionate rock and roll, in my opinion,
Right. I
So
can see that for sure.
that's sort of my take on that, I guess.
Cool. That's very interesting. Yeah, I heard that the scene back in the day was a lot more violent compared to what it is now. It's like more of a community a little bit now.
Yeah, I think it's much nicer. From what I've gathered, Kurt's able to see a lot more shows than I am. We don't get much shows over here where I'm at.
No.
But yeah, so I live a little vicariously through him. But the stuff, I did just go down to Phoenix and see a Soft Kill and Beethoven Arme and a few of those. And yeah, it was great to see people come out on a Monday night and say, wow, it is really pretty amazing. It's pretty inspiring to see, a younger generation out there and supporting bands. And yeah, that's the stuff that we've always loved since day one.
Definitely. I agree. Very cool. Have you guys done a tour yet at all?
Not yet.
Not yet. So
Not
just
yet.
kind of been playing shows here and there kind of thing?
Yeah, we've done we've only done like 6 shows, I think, here in Boston area. We've done like Boston, Rhode Island. We're doing Long Beach, California next Thursday, and we're doing LA on Friday with that big Templar show in downtown LA.
Nice.
Yeah, that's kind of the closest thing to a tour that we've done yet. But it's not really a tour, it's a trip, I'm still of the mindset like a tour is more than 2 weeks, like because Hans and I both toured a lot in the 90s, like like for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And so I always, not to dismiss what anybody says about going on tour, but I still kind of chuckle inside a little bit when I see a band poster. It's like, we're on tour, and it's like a 4-day show, and I'm like, or 4-day trip. I'm like, that's not really a tour, but okay, awesome. You're going into doing it.
Yeah.
And there really is, seeing bands and there when they put like Soft Kills out, I don't know how many, I think they're doing like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that. Like, I haven't known of bands doing that in a long time in the States, because it's not easy to do it anymore here, I mean, not like it was easy in the 90s, but I mean, I can't imagine busting my ass for 4 weeks in the United States anymore. Like, it's,
Right.
I think the longest I've done in the past, what did we do in Europe, was like 13 shows or something, Hans?
Yeah, like 2.5 weeks or something, or somewhere in that range, or 2 weeks. But yeah, we'd like to get over to Europe and do this there. That's probably more feasible. And yeah, that's kind of one of the driving factors, I think, that we initially like, yeah, let's get over to Europe and play some more shows, and different
Absolutely.
places, and liking travel and all that, which is what it's all about.
Getting to Europe next year is
Yeah.
a big focal point. That we want to make that happen for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I love Europe, and you're so close to all these different, countries and cities. You're train right away, it's
Right.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love being there.
exactly. I hope you guys can make it over there for sure.
Thanks.
Gonna try our best.
Is there a place where people can buy your vinyl and your merch and stuff like that? Do you guys have a website?
So the vinyl came out on Lionheart in Germany, sold out. The first record sold out like, I don't know, within a day, and then there's two releases out right now. The second
Okay.
one is just now going to start hitting people's mailboxes now, but it sold out in a matter of hours. So I'm going to have copies. I should have them tomorrow, actually. And once I get them, then they'll go up probably on our Bandcamp page. Yeah. But I don't even have a lot of. I'll probably get, I think we'll probably get like 75 of those or so. I'm gonna bring, some of them out to LA next week. So I'll have some there with me. But when I get back, I'll probably throw some up online on our Bandcamp page. But other than that, there's not really a lot of merch out there, because it goes pretty quick. So yeah, I mean, there'll be probably some shirts on there. I'll throw up there as well. But
Okay.
yeah.
So Bandcamp primarily to get your music.
Merch, yeah. But like the music's streaming everywhere. I mean, probably throw a dart and you can find somewhere that's streaming the music. I mean, those services, they tackle everything now. It's like you put it up on one site and it goes Spotify, YouTube, wherever that stuff goes. I don't really follow it all. I just know that it's out there,
Right.
I check Spotify now and again to see how many people check it out. I don't listen to Spotify. I'm not really hip to that. So I know, like, for a lot of people, that's their main source of how they hear music. Do you listen to?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, I listen to it all, actually. Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music.
Cool.
Wherever I feel like it at the moment, or wherever I can find a band.
Yeah, cool.
Definitely.
It's still kind of foreign to me a little bit. I mean, Bandcamp, I download a lot of music. I buy a lot of music and download stuff from Bandcamp because, it's such a different world. It's when we were coming up, like writing people letters and mailing, cassette tapes back and forth with crappy demos of local bands and stuff. And we did that. I still have some of those cassettes. And now it's like I can be in touch with some band in the middle of nowhere, and they've got a full album, and I could download their music and I could listen to it in my car, and it sounds killer. It's just technology is such a trip. It's great. It's actually really good.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how far we've come with that. It's
Absolutely.
nuts, but so accessible, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, to have a bunch of records sitting behind me and to know that I've got like almost as much music on my phone still just blows my brain apart. Like,
Right.
my 17-year-old, 15-year-old self would be like, flipping out.
Definitely. Definitely. Are you guys working on any new music right now?
We're kind of always working on a little something. That's kind of
Right.
the goal here, at least for me.
Yeah.
Always kind of, I think, yeah, safe to say that is the case. We're pretty much sort of always chipping away at things. I don't know when next release will be, but yeah. So
We got a couple new ones we're cooking up right now. It is there's a thing where it's like, because as shows come up, or like the shows next week, I've got to get, for one, I got to figure out how to play this stuff, and
Yeah.
it's just a just different mindset from when you're like recording something with the idea of just like, we're just going to make this music and it's going to be online, or not online, but you're in a studio setting where you can fix things and you can take things step by step, versus like, oh, how do I actually perform this? It's a different process. Like, I didn't sit and record with a guitar in my hand and sing at the same time. So to do that has been a big learning experience for me to figure that out. And then to do it with a band, so sometimes there's only so many hours in a day, and there's not always time to dedicate it toward writing or recording, or working on new stuff. And sometimes trying to juggle, I think we're doing a pretty good job of it, where it's like, okay, now we're writing, and now I just need the time to like rehearse for
Right.
shows. But like Hans said, we're always working on something. I think there's a couple in the burner right now that are going to be out. There's going to be another 7-inch probably out early next year
Oh, okay.
on Lionheart. Yeah, a couple of the tunes that are online, the Panic Age single, and we might add a couple to that and do like a 4-song 7-inch or something. But there'll definitely be another Lionheart release, probably 3 months or something like that.
Cool. All right. Well, definitely keep me posted about it for
We'll
sure.
do. We'll do.
absolutely.
Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before I let you go?
Hans,
I
anything?
think I'm I think I'm good. Thanks for having us. That's awesome. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a pleasure.
The only thing I would say, ask is, or let people know is, we're playing next Thursday in Long Beach, California, Supply and Demand,
Yep.
with Bomber, who are great dudes, and Street Threat and Rampa Cabeza. And then Friday night, it's Templars, Castillo, Ultrasect, Reeks, and Bomber, and us at the Regent Theater, downtown LA.
It's gonna be an incredible show. I was gonna go to that.
We both had tickets to go. We were going to go there anyway, and we
Oh,
got asked.
really?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, my wife and I had tickets months ago, and my mom is still out there. So I'm like, well, I'll go see my mom, and maybe we can get a show the night before, which we were able to get through Dean from Bomber. And then 2 weeks ago, I got a call in the morning. Like, I had a bunch of messages from Dean the night before saying, call me the next morning. And my first thing I thought is, oh shit, the Long Beach show got canceled. Like, and we already have plane tickets, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, hey, you guys want to open the Templar show? And I was just like,
Mind blown.
yeah. So I've got some extra tickets.
Awesome. I know. I wish I could fly out there and take one of those tickets off.
I know. Are you going to come to one of the Pittsburgh show? You'd mentioned something about maybe coming to that Collapse show and No Time show in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it for sure. I love Collapse. I've interviewed them. They're awesome guys. So I was definitely thinking about it because it looks insane. It looks like a great night.
That lineup's just about as good as the one in California. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
exactly.
stacked all the way.
Exactly. So
And Hans will be out
crossed.
for that one too. So
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, those
Oh.
November things confirmed, Kurt.
yeah, we're doing like 4 shows with Collapse. 3 shows with Collapse. We're doing Boston, we're doing Buffalo, and we're doing Pittsburgh, and we're working on another day in New Jersey, but that won't be with Collapse.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Well, it sounds like you guys are on a roll and just keep at it.
Hey.
Do what you're doing because it's working.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Awesome. Yeah. Hoping to do that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll hang out for a minute once I'm done once I hit stop on the recording.
Okay.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been
Thank you,
great talking
Brackett.
to
It's been a
you guys.
pleasure.
Thank
It's been a
you.
real pleasure.
Awesome. Well, you've been watching On and On. I'm Brackett. They're Bad Terms. Thank you for tuning in.